What if I told you there's a bull out there that weighs more than a pickup truck, stands taller than most NBA players, and has been around since the Roman Empire? And that's just number one on this list. Today, we're counting down 14 bull breeds so absurdly massive that when you see them, your brain refuses to believe they're real. Some look like they were designed in a lab, others belong in a mythology book, and at least one has a genetic mutation that turned off the body's ability to stop building muscle. So smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Chianina. We're starting with the undisputed heavyweight champion of the cattle world. The Chianina is an Italian breed that holds the Guinness World Record for the largest cattle breed on the planet. Bulls routinely stand 1.8 meters at the shoulder, nearly 6 feet, and regularly exceed 1,600 kilograms. That's 3,500 pounds, heavier than a Volkswagen Golf. But the real legend is a bull named Donetto, exhibited at the Arezzo show in Italy in 1955, who reportedly tipped the scales at around 1,780 kilograms, nearly 3,900 pounds, standing 1.85 meters tall. A single animal weighing almost 2 tons, and this isn't some modern genetic experiment. This breed has been around for over 2,200 years. The Roman poet Columella wrote about them in 55 AD, describing them as huge and white. The Romans actually used them in triumphal marches because of how majestic they looked. Oh, and that famous Florentine T-bone steak, the bistecca alla Fiorentina. That's Chianina beef. When an Australian steer named Knickers went viral in 2018 for being abnormally large, Italian breeders put out an official statement saying, "Ours is a giant breed, while the Australian steer is just an anomaly." Most Italian flex I've ever heard, Belgian Blue. If the Chianina is the tallest and heaviest, here the Belgian Blue is the most jacked. These bulls look like someone photoshopped muscles onto a cow. Their shoulders, backs, and hindquarters are so cartoonishly ripped that people see photos of them online and immediately assume they're fake or on steroids. They're not. What they have is something far more interesting: a natural genetic mutation in the myostatin gene. Myostatin is the protein that tells your muscles when to stop growing. In Belgian Blues, that gene is essentially broken. It doesn't work, so their muscles just keep developing way beyond what any normal animal would produce. The result is a phenomenon called double muscling, and it gives them roughly 20% more muscle fiber than regular cattle. Bulls typically weigh between 1,100 and 1,300 kilograms, and their carcass yield, the percentage of usable meat, can reach an absurd 80%. Most beef cattle sit around 60 to 65%. The downside? All that muscle makes calving extremely difficult. Many purebred Belgian Blues need cesarean sections to give birth. A cow so muscular it literally needs surgery to have babies. Nature gave them a superpower, then immediately added a catch: Nelore. Now we're heading to Brazil, where the Nelore doesn't just dominate, it owns the beef industry. Over 80% of all beef-producing cattle in Brazil are either purebred Nelore or Nelore crosses. In a country with over 200 million head of cattle, that's staggering. The Nelore descended from India's Ongole cattle, first arriving in Brazil in 1868 when a ship bound for England stopped in Salvador and sold a pair. Now, individually, a Nelore isn't the heaviest bull on this list. Mature bulls typically weigh around 500 to 800 kilograms. But here's why they're scary. They're built to survive anything: scorching heat. Their sweat glands are 25 to 35% larger than European breeds. Parasites? Their skin has a special muscle layer that literally shakes insects off. Drought? A slow metabolism lets them feed less often and resist bloating. They're basically the cockroach of the cattle world, and I mean that as the highest compliment. In 2024, a single Nelore cow named Viatina 19 sold for $4 million, setting a Guinness World Record. She weighed 1,100 kilograms, double the average for her breed. $4 million. For a cow, Maine Anjou. If we're talking sheer bulk, the Maine Anjou belongs in any conversation about massive cattle. This French breed produces bulls that average 1,000 to 1,400 kilograms, but the big boys reach over 1,500. According to Oklahoma State University, mature bulls can weigh from 2,200 to 3,100 pounds on average. That upper range puts them in the same neighborhood as the Chianina. What makes the Maine Anjou particularly interesting is its origin as a dual-purpose breed. Farmers in northwestern France milked half the cows and fattened the other half's calves. The breed was created in the 1800s when local Mansell cattle were crossed with Durham stock from England. As early as 1843, an agriculturist noted that when put on community pastures, the Mansell were the last to arrive but the first picked for the capital city markets. They gained weight faster than everyone else even when they started last. That's the kid who shows up late to the exam and still gets the highest grade. Brahman. You know that iconic hump on the back of certain cattle? That's Bos indicus. That's the Brahman. While the hump gets all the attention, it's what it represents that matters. An animal engineered by centuries of brutal natural selection in India to survive conditions that would destroy most European breeds. The hump is the rhomboideus muscle, massively overdeveloped, serving as an energy reservoir. Mature Brahman bulls weigh between 725 and 1,000 kilograms. That's 1,600 to 2,200 pounds, and can stand 5 to 6 feet tall at the shoulder. But the real numbers that matter are about temperature tolerance. Studies at the University of Missouri found that while European cattle start suffering at around 21 degrees Celsius, Brahmans show almost no stress even past 40 degrees. They have more sweat glands, an oily skin secretion that repels insects, and a short glossy coat that reflects sunlight like a mirror. They're also ridiculously long-lived. Bulls can stay productive for 8 to 10 years, and cows can live 15 to 20 years. That longevity is why the Brahman has become the foundation for dozens of hybrid breeds. Brangus, Brayford, Beefmaster, Simbra. Would you believe that virtually all of America's Brahman population descended from fewer than 300 animals imported before 1906? From 300 to millions. That's a genetic success story that would make any tech startup jealous. Charolais. The Charolais is the French tank of the cattle world. These cream-white giants are among the heaviest breeds in existence, with bulls weighing 1,000 to 1,650 kilograms. In American terms, that's 2,200 to 3,600 pounds. Some weigh more than a compact car, and they don't just stand there looking pretty. Daily weight gains can hit 1,350 to 1,600 grams, roughly 1.5 kilograms of body mass added every day. The breed originated in the Charolais region of eastern France, and their history as draft animals is why they're so heavily muscled today. French breeders spent centuries selecting for size and power because bigger meant more pulling force. When machines replaced oxen, all that genetic investment got redirected toward producing phenomenal amounts of beef. The Charolais is found in literally every country that produces beef, and it's the most common beef breed in France. When a Mexican industrialist named Jean Pugebet saw these cattle while serving as a French army volunteer in World War I, he was so impressed he shipped them to his ranch in Mexico in 1930. That's how they eventually reached North America, Cholestani. Here's a breed that most of you have probably never heard of, and honestly, that's a shame. The Cholestani comes from the Cholistan Desert in Punjab, Pakistan, one of the most extreme environments on the planet. We're talking about a desert where temperatures regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius, and annual rainfall can drop to just 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters. And yet, the Cholestani thrives there. These are large zebu cattle with a distinctive speckled coat, white with black, brown, or red spots, that the local nomads actually call flea-bitten as a term of endearment. Bulls weigh between 500 and 600 kilograms. And while that might not sound enormous compared to the European giants, what makes the Cholestani impressive is what it achieves under nearly impossible conditions. These cattle are tick-resistant, heat-adapted, and have immune systems that let them survive where other breeds would perish. The breed was so overlooked that it wasn't even included in Pakistan's livestock census until 2006. Formal research didn't begin until 2010. It's a recently rediscovered breed hiding in plain sight in one of the world's harshest deserts, and elite crosses with Holstein Friesian genetics can yield 15 to 20 liters of milk per day. Serious production from an animal that evolved where water barely exists. Limousin. Speaking of breeds that punch way above their weight, let me tell you about the Limousin. If these golden brown French cattle might not be the absolute heaviest, mature bulls typically weigh between 900 and 1,100 kilograms, but they are hands down the most efficient meat-producing machine in the entire cattle world. A long-term study at the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center compared Limousins against 3 British breeds and 5 other continental European breeds. The result? Limousins converted feed into saleable meat faster and more efficiently than every other breed tested, even though their live weight gain was actually the slowest of the group. How is that possible? Because saleable meat yield, the actual percentage that ends up as sellable cuts, was 46% of live weight for Limousins compared to just 34.9% for British breeds and 40.4% for other continental breeds. The Limousin essentially grows less overall but wastes almost nothing. And this breed is ancient. Cave drawings in the Lascaux Caves near Montignac, France, estimated to be 20,000 years old, show cattle strikingly similar to modern Limousins. They also carry a partially active myostatin mutation called F94L, which gives them enhanced muscling without the extreme calving problems seen in Belgian blues. Nature found the sweet spot between bulk and functionality. Guzerá. The Guzerá is Brazil's version of the Indian Cancrege, and these cattle are absolute works of art. Tall, lean frames, sweeping lyre-shaped horns curving upward, and coats shifting from light silver to almost black. A mature Guzerá bull is one of the most visually striking animals in livestock. Bulls typically weigh 700 to 800 kilograms. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The Guzerá was one of the main breeds used to create the American Brahman. When ranchers in the American South needed cattle that could survive the brutal Gulf Coast conditions, they turned to Indian breeds, and the Cancrege, which became the Guzerá in Brazil, was the most important of them all. The breed arrived in Brazil around 1870 and was refined into a dual-purpose powerhouse. Selected dairy lines average over 2,000 kilograms of milk per lactation, with records exceeding 8,800 kilograms. From Gujarat, India, to the Brazilian Cerrado to the ranches of Texas, the Guzerá's genetic fingerprint is everywhere, hiding inside millions of cattle that carry its DNA without knowing it. Simmental. If there were an award for most versatile cattle breed in history, the Simmental would win by a landslide. This breed dates back to the Middle Ages in Switzerland's Sim Valley, and today there are an estimated 40 to 60 million worldwide. Bulls stand 150 to 160 centimeters tall and weigh around 1,300 kilograms. What sets the Simmental apart is that it was never selected for just one thing. European farmers wanted cattle that could pull plows, produce milk, and generate quality beef, all from the same animal, and the Simmental delivered. That triple threat utility is why the breed spread so rapidly. Records show exports to Italy as early as the 1400s. Guatemala imported the first Simmentals in the Western Hemisphere in 1897. The breed's adaptability is almost uncanny. You can find Simmentals thriving in the Alps, in African savannas, in Australian outback, and on American feedlots. In the U.S., the Simangus cross has become one of the most popular genetic packages in the modern beef industry. Holstein Friesian. Wait. A dairy cow on a list about scary huge bulls? Absolutely. Most people have never seen a mature Holstein bull. You see the cows all the time, the iconic black and white ones on every dairy poster ever. But the bulls are hidden away at AI studs, and there's a reason they're kept behind heavy steel gates. Mature Holstein bulls can weigh 1,000 to 1,200 kilograms, with some exceeding 1,300 kilograms and standing well over 160 centimeters. But the really scary thing about Holstein bulls isn't just their size, it's their temperament. Dairy breed bulls have a well-documented reputation for being among the most dangerous animals on any farm. They're responsible for more farmer deaths than beef breed bulls, partly because people underestimate them. You see the gentle dairy cows and assume the bulls are the same. They're not. And yet, the breed itself is a marvel. Some high-producing cows exceed 30,000 liters of milk per year. The breed originated in the Netherlands about 2,000 years ago and has since conquered the global dairy industry so thoroughly that when most people say cow, they're picturing a Holstein, Hereford. The Hereford is the quintessential beef bull. Red body, white face, stocky build, and an attitude that says, "I own this pasture," originating from Herefordshire in England. And this breed has been a cornerstone of global beef production since the 1700s. Mature bulls typically weigh 900 to 1,200 kilograms, built for converting grass into quality beef. What makes the Hereford truly remarkable is its adaptability. This breed performs well in Argentina's grasslands, Scotland's highlands, Texas plains, and Australian rangelands. It handles cold winters, hot summers, and everything between. Herefords are also famously docile, which is a huge advantage when your animal weighs half a ton. And here's a business angle. That distinctive white face is genetically dominant. Cross a Hereford with almost any other breed, and the calves will have that white face. This made the Hereford incredibly popular for crossbreeding because ranchers could visually identify Hereford genetics just by looking. No DNA test needed. It's basically the breed's built-in trademark, Angus. The Angus is probably the most commercially successful beef breed in history. Originally from Aberdeenshire and Angus in Scotland, the Aberdeen Angus was bred for centuries in cool, wet conditions that produced an animal with incredible marbling, those fine threads of intramuscular fat that make steak melt in your mouth. Mature Angus bulls typically weigh between 850 and 1,100 kilograms. But here's the fascinating part. Recent data from the U.S. Meat Animal Research Center showed that among 16 major breeds studied, Angus actually ranked as the heaviest at maturity. Not Charolais, not Simmental. Angus. That's a dramatic shift from the small, compact cattle the breed was known for decades ago. Modern genetic selection for growth and carcass weight has transformed the Angus into a much larger animal than its ancestors. The breed is naturally polled, no horns, which is a huge practical advantage. No dehorning stress, no horn injuries, and no bruised carcasses. The certified Angus beef brand became one of the most successful branding stories in agricultural history, creating premium value at every level of the supply chain. Today, in many auction barns, a solid black calf commands a price premium simply because of the association with Angus quality, Parthenaise. We're closing this list with a breed that might be the most underrated giant in the cattle world. The Parthenaise originates from the town of Parthenay in west-central France, and its history goes back further than almost any other breed on this list. Some records trace it to pre-medieval times. These are large, powerful animals with a gorgeous ginger-brown coat, cream undersides, and a muscular build that screams draft animal turned beef machine. The largest Parthenaise bulls can weigh over 1,200 kilograms and stand over 150 centimeters tall. Like the Limousin, the Parthenaise belongs to the blonde group of European cattle and shares that family's gift for efficient meat production. Research from Ireland shows that Parthenaise-sired calves consistently produce lean, high-quality carcasses with excellent conformation. But despite all these qualities, the Parthenaise remains relatively rare outside of France, the hidden gem of the cattle world that consistently delivers but never quite achieved the global fame of the Charolais or Limousin. And so there you have it. 14 bull breeds that look like they were pulled out of a fantasy novel but are walking around on actual farms right now. From the 2-ton Chianina that the Romans used in parades to the double-muscled Belgian Blue that broke its own myostatin gene, these animals are proof that nature, with a little help from human selection, can produce living things almost too absurd to be real. Which one shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments. If this video changed how you look at cattle, share it with someone who has no idea these animals exist. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.